Why'd you elbow me in the back, Kevin?
I know, I felt so bad.
Hey, Kevin, you got any guts? Jerk.
You can read more about that confrontation between East Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett and Kevin McCarthy at WBIR.com. But for some perspective on the state of politics right now in Washington, my colleague John North and I had a chance to catch up with East Tennessee Congressman Chuck Fleischmann.
I thought it was very important that we keep the government open. A few things for our listeners. I'm an appropriator. I'm the only appropriator in the United States House in Tennessee. In that regard, I'm what we affectionately call a cardinal, a subcommittee chairman over the Energy and Water Subcommittee, which is very important, funding all the great things that we do in Oak Ridge, all of those things. But I have always fought to keep the government open. I have legislated, sadly, through 3 government shutdowns. They are never good. Let me make that clear. Never good. They cost more money to the government. We lose millions of dollars as taxpayers. We lose millions of person hours of work because the federal workforce, through no fault of their own, goes home and stays home, and then they're later reimbursed for that. So I worked very hard to keep the government open. And at the same time, my bill, the Energy and Water Bill, will be conferenced by January the 19th. The other 8 appropriation bills will be conferenced by February the 2nd. Under the circumstances, given the fact that we had a motion to vacate the chair, all of the uncertainty, a very dangerous world, I thought it was a clear and easy yes vote for not only the people of Tennessee, but for the people of this country.
To casual listeners and viewers, they've heard a lot about money for Ukraine and more money for Israel. Can you explain where that stands in the budget process now?
Another excellent question. Neither of those 2 funding pots of money, Israel or Ukraine, were added to this continuing resolution as an anomaly or otherwise. Having said that, Israel is our largest recipient of foreign aid, has been for years and will continue to be, and I will support that. So Israel funding has been continuing. They were talking about doing is a supplemental additional funding for Ukraine and for Israel. If in fact that happens, and it may happen even prior to the next appropriation bill, if it does happen, those will be separate votes. I can assure you of that. The Senate wanted to put those together. The House wanted to keep them separately for different reasons. Either way, I do think ultimately both will go through. Israel's will be larger, will be stronger, and will be consistent with our long-term support of Israel, which I support. Ukraine is a little bit more a contentious matter. I actually support that funding, as do some members of my party and most of the members of the other party.
Congressman, let's shift to talking about civility. And let me start by saying I give you props because I think you've always been a very civil man. If you've lost your temper, I've never seen it. Maybe I need to nudge you and see what it takes. But the serious question is this. This week, we saw an episode. You know what I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
There was some kind of an encounter between the former speaker, Kevin McCarthy, and our own Tim Burchett here in this district. And it concerns people, maybe gave late night talk show hosts something to also chuckle about. But it ultimately is disturbing that we would have this kind of an episode, a standoff finger pointing between these 2 men of their own party. I'm curious your thoughts about what happened and how do we get to civility? How do we find civility, which is something that we have been talking about for a long time. And now here we see this very thing happening between 2 members of the same party.
Well, thank you for your very kind words and your compliments about me. As part of my demeanor as a member of Congress, as a representative of the people of Tennessee, as their representative, I think built into that ethos should be civility. I have an open door policy. I've had that with members of the Obama administration, the Trump administration, and now the Biden administration. And that has actually inured to the benefit of the people I represent. I've been able to do things because cabinet members can come by and speak with me, know they'll be treated with respect, with kindness, and civility. We may disagree, and sometimes we do vehemently, but usually we get to a place, hopefully, where we can find common ground. In regard to the McCarthy-Burchett situation, I adore both men. They're both very good friends of mine. We get along exceedingly well. I don't like contentiousness. I'm a peacemaker up here in Congress. We went through the whole speaker vacating of the chair and the like. I tried to bring all three of our factions together. I'm in the center-right faction. We have a far-right faction and a moderate faction. I'm in the center of our conference. Having said that, I just prefer to bring people together. I was not present during the alleged altercation between the gentlemen. On that same day, there was a situation in the United States Senate where a senator got into a rather heated debate with a witness. I think right now tempers are flaring because, candidly, there's some very strong bona fide differences, not only between the parties, but the direction that the country is going on a host of areas. I would hope that we can get back to a more civil tone. The Senate had traditionally always been the more civil body. A wise person once said, the Senate is a club, the House is a jungle. Now, unfortunately, I think both bodies are showing some of those strains, but I think we can recalibrate.
Again, it's two people in the same party that are doing the fighting, so that's not so good. He also mentioned that he's going down to Mar-a-Lago on Monday, which ought to be interesting because he has had an endorsement in on Trump for more than a year now, I think.
Susan, back to the Congressman Burchett story. You learned something late this week as well about that.
Well, yeah, there was an article that was saying that he had been kicked out of the workout club with Senator Mullen. They all go to the fitness center at the Capitol and work out, and apparently Senator Mullen didn't like what happened with the speaker, former speaker, and so he has ejected Congressman Burchett, and the congressman said yes, he did. He was yelling at him, and so he left. So I don't know if he got kicked out or Tim quit, but you know, listen, it's time for them to go home. Senator Mullen himself threatened to beat up a union boss or something, you know, so it's time. The tempers are getting a little bit flared.
Dennis, civility in politics, can we get it back?
No.
No.
Donald Trump has ensured there will never be another civil conversation in a political setting till we're all dead.
So we're all polarized now.
Absolutely.
That's our fate.
Yep.
All right. That perspective from Dennis Francis, we're going to get a little more when we come back right after this on Inside Tennessee.